right, welcome to the Patriot Hour for Saturday morning, Saturday, September 8th, 2018. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining in, giving us some of your time. We appreciate it. We know how valuable it is, and a lot of hustle and bustle. Ain't got the time to do a lot of your own research. We will help you, guide you, but you still need to find that time, folks. There's never that excuse of, I just don't have time, I'm too busy. It's like making time, all right? You have friends you ain't talked to in a while, and they tell you they're really busy. It's just really that they're not making any time, because they can set a little time aside a month to keep up, talk with you. But we get it. It's not that important on some issues, but on other things where it comes to research and the truth of your life, our futures, our collective futures, is very important. All right, we're keeping an eye on this mic here. It might be starting to die. All right, so okay, we have no new Q updates. That's fine. I got a little something else I want to jump in here. As you saw, I kind of did the picture here at the beginning. This is a N.Revolt article. I've been checking him out since December or January, maybe early February, but come across many of his articles lately. He's had some really good ones that piqued my interest, and I figured you guys would like to see him as well. Again, I'd like to take a minute here for every video to all the subscribers. Thank you so much. It's been a blessing having all you Patriots here. And this mic's dead. 1 minute. All right, let's see here. All right, folks. Got a little temporary mic set up here. The other one looks like it died. So, all right, we'll make do with this. This is still a really good mic. It's just not in the right stand because I didn't have all that much time on the fly. But we will make do. Because I know I've done this before. All right. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so let's get into this neon, and excuse me for the technical difficulties. I thought I heard it getting dimmer right after I kicked off. So, okay, we're going to get into this neon. If you're new, please subscribe, like, share, comment, ring the bell, toggle the switch on after you subscribe. You can toggle the switch to work with you and your device to notify you how you want to get the updates as soon as there's a video out. If we go live in the future, you'll get that notification that we're live at that minute, or just when a video gets released, okay? That way you're always up to date, up to speed, up to par, okay? N.Revolt. We're going to get into this one here. Goodbye, Mr. Rosenstein. The world is changing, all right? We got the new Q from the other day. This article is from September 8th, again by N.Revolt. I suggest checking them out. I'll leave the link down below. I wrestled a lot with these drops, these latest drops. There was a bunch of back and forth in my own head. But after hashing it with some good folks, all right, there's some misspellings here, I think I've arrived at some very interesting conclusions. There's a ton of solid research in here too. So let's jump right into it, starting where we left off. All right, so on 2096, that was a Q post on September 6th. 2018. We have an anonymous here. Prosecutors use grand jury as investigation of Andrew McCabe intensifies. Federal prosecutor have for months been using a grand jury to investigate former FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe. So we have a whole bunch there. Read between the lines. March 22nd. We got this link. We are individually reviewing the remaining documents to ensure they do not include grand jury information. Information about ongoing law enforcement actions involving American citizens or privileged attorney-client communications, Pryor said, per Today. Federal prosecutors have for months been using a grand jury. You didn't think nothing was happening, did you? All right, so here's a link by the Washington Post. Prosecutors use grand jury as investigation of Andrew McCabe. Goodlatte subpoenas DOJ for documents related to Clinton email probe, FISA abuses. All right, we got that going on. So House Judiciary Committee Chairman Bob Goodlatte subpoenaed the Justice Department on Thursday for documents regarding the changing decisions in the investigation into Hillary Clinton's private email server, potential abuses of Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, and the recommendation from the FBI of the professional responsibility to former FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe. Goodlatte out of Virginia, Republican out of Virginia, who said he would not seek re-election in November, penned a letter to Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein on Thursday, attached to the document subpoena. The recommendation appears to be based, at least in part, on events related to the investigation surrounding Secretary Clinton's private email server. Goodlatte wrote, accordingly, the subpoena additionally covers all documents and communications relied upon by FBI Office of Professional Responsibility in reaching its decision to recommend the dismissal of former Deputy Director McCabe. I like seeing the men who have been blackmailed for so long into submission get a chance to strike back before making their exit. Also note the date in the kill box, March 22nd. Not only does that mean there's been a lot of progress since then, producing the 30,000 documents requested, but 3/22. That's the Skull and Bones favorite number, which we covered extensively here. All right, so the Palladian Skull and Bones Part 2, Secret Societies, the Cabal, Clinton Foundation, Arkansas Skull and Bones. Might be doing this one later, okay? We'll get into that on another video. No way that's not a direct signal to the Cabal. QAnon responds to this post from an Anon. We got this original photo here from November 8th. I could do this every day. And it talks about how to, and I did this in a video, how to go to this Twitter page here. And here's the direct link. It's Donald Trump's official Twitter page. So this picture here taken aboard Air Force One. And we all knew about how you can draw the Q and it kind of lines up. It's also named Do It Q. What would be the odds? So now this was an old Q confirmation. Q is just reminding us of. I'll explain for those who may be joining us and having a hard time following along. Back in November when Q was relatively new, one of his earliest proofs of his validity came in the form of this post. He posted this November 8th. Congratulations to all the deplorables and the millions of people who gave us a massive 304 to 227 electoral college landslide victory. If you were to save the image directly from Twitter, the file name starts the phrase "Do It Q." Thus, the chances of this happening randomly are 1 in a billion. To add to that, the other Anons also noticed this secondary confirmation in the image at the time. There you go. All right. And Q is highlighting these coincidences because of the microchip drama that continues to unfold. But you know how I feel about that if you read my article here. All right, here's another decent article I was reading. HRC in panic mode, flawless victory awaits. So on September 6th, we had this post, heads up, nationwide alert system. This has been a long time coming. We go back to November 1st of 2017, Q clearance Patriot. And then down here in this, this starts, my fellow Americans, over the course of the next several days, you will undoubtedly realize that we're taking back our great country, the land of the free from the evil tyrants that wish to do us harm and destroy the last remaining refugee of shining light. On POTUS order, we have initiated certain fail-safes that shall safeguard the public from the primary fallout, which is slated to occur on 11/3. Upon the arrest announcement of Mr. Podesta, actionable 11/4, confirmation to the public of what will be occurring then will be revealed and will not openly be accepted. Public riots are being organized in serious numbers in an effort to arrest and capture of more senior public officials. On POTUS order, a state of temporary military control will be actioned and special ops carried out. False leaks have been made to retain several within confines of the United States to prevent extradition and special operator necessity. Rest assured, the safety of well-being and well-being of every man, woman, and child of this country is being exhausted in full. However, the atmosphere within the country will unfortunately be divided, as so many have fallen for the corrupt and evil narrative that has long been broadcast. We will be initiating the Emergency Broadcast System, EMS, during this time, an effort to provide a direct message, avoiding the fake news, to all citizens. Organizations and or people that wish to do us harm during this time will be met with swift fury. Certain laws have been pre-lifted to provide our great military the necessary authority to handle and conduct these operations at home and aboard. So understand why they're doing this now. Direct comms to every single citizen in the United States or America. So this was last November. This is how it all kicked off, all right? I mean, this isn't the very first post. That was back in October, just a couple days before. But this is November 1st. I mean, when he first started dropping, there was, lots of posts within the first couple of days. But a lot of people don't think, the very first one about Hillary being arrested, has that happened? Maybe it did already way back then. Or is it talking about this year? Lots of this stuff about the emergency broadcast. We're starting to get a lot of this other stuff that was talked about. Future will prove the past. All right. Lots to think about here. Lots to try to figure out. Understand why they are doing this now. Direct comms to every single citizen in America. So then we got the rest of this. Why before each rally, threats are being called in on Q to attendees. Why are bots and page shills tasked to mess with the keyboards, and the same people are doing it to POTUS. A similar thing even played out for us in front of the cameras at last night's rally in Montana, where there was 3 sub-series dressed up like Trump supporters right behind Trump. Subversives, huh? 1, 2. So carefully watch the entire thing. At 58:32, the guy loosens up his muscles and he looks over to the female on his right. She quickly stares him in the eyes with disapproval and then tells him, "Not yet. Check it out for yourselves." YouTube posed quickly to point out their strange behavior, and the Secret Service seemed to pick up on it. All 3 of them were quickly removed from the scene. The exchange is a bit clear if you start a bit before where the Anon recommended. I think the link is set at 58:22. The exchange actually happens at 58:31 and is already over by 58:32. All right, 58. Guy's clapping. She's looking at him. Little head and Not yet, not yet. girl in the red hat right over his shoulder. The other guy on his other shoulder. They're looking, all three looking pretty weird. All right, so 58:30. The exchange actually happens at 58:31 and is already over by 58:32. When did they get removed? All right, so that link will be here again for this article down below. And you guys can check that out in full for yourselves, all right? All right, again, it's Saturday morning, just kind of moving slow here. Sorry if I had the issue with the mic, and I did not look at this video earlier. I went over this article. I just didn't click on the video. I read that, it tells you kind of to start. I have this link set to start at 58:22. The exchange actually happens at 58:31 and is already over by 58:32. Huh. So at 58:32, the guy loosens up his muscles and he looks over to the female on his right, and she quickly stares him into the eyes with disapproval and tells him not yet. Pretty crazy on that. All right, so now at 107:50ish, Trump starts talking about draining the swamp, and Flaney Boy, with his unblinking MK Ultra stare at his Democratic Socialist rosette pin displayed proudly on his chest, can't help himself. He visibly shakes his head no. Less than 30 seconds later, he's being removed by the Secret Service, a move which makes both his Tarvalashki very uncomfortable. This dude goes visibly red and doubles down on suddenly paying attention to what Trump has to say. Let's see this here. Okay, so at 107. So now you got a Secret Service agent that just came in. And then these two will be next. All right, so less than 30 seconds later, he's being removed by Secret Service, a move which makes both his so both of them get uncomfortable. The dude goes visibly red and doubles down on suddenly paying attention to what Trump has to say and following all the social cues such as clapping, but a bit too hard. After feeling the eye of Saran gaze upon them for more about 9 minutes, both of them would be removed by Secret Service as well. Wow. All right, so then we get the post 2100, 1711. Jones plays the role of a conspiracy theorist at the best of his Stratfor masters. We've been over this before here. So we got this one, Wake Up Edition. In this case, it looks like Q is saying he's playing the straw man. He's playing the straw man in order to help the cabal's social media set the censorship precedent and lead to the masses censoring of QAnon-related accounts, hashtags, articles, topics. At least that's what I'm getting from this. All right, and that was that post that went over. There's a lot more than you realize. Think collective attacks versus Q. Control and divide. Think Mueller. 11 spaces in the kill box. Not sure who it's supposed to be. However, but if they can link InfoWars to a foreign intelligence agency, they claim foreign interference into our elections through social media, giving them the moral ground to ban all conspiracy theorists, just to be safe. Welcome to Russian collusion 2.0. It's not a legal battle, it's a media battle. Now, AlexJonesMachine.com has been absolute treasure trove of information about what's really going on here with InfoWars and all these shell companies and extensive ties that the Nexum family, the Bronformans. So I've got to direct you to them so you can see it for yourself. All right, so we get into the free speech systems. Doesn't seem to have much of a website, just a contact form. Kind of hard to tell what they're all about. More money seems to be spent by free speech systems in the form of office space. This report from Austin Business Journal states that the office space was leased to the beginning of the year in Austin University Business Center by Free Speech Systems. I got all the information here on that. We looked at it. Free Speech Systems, entity form. Looks like Mrs. Sherwig is doing very well for herself. A Texas super lawyer. Alex's former lawyer was a super lawyer too. All right, gets into Alex's lawyers. And I wasn't going to spend a whole bunch of time on that, on Alex Jones and his lawyers and what he's made. But it is interesting if he is foreign linked. I'm all about that. All right. I am all about to see how many people have, because, hey, we've all listened to him. Early on, he was one of the only ones around after some of the others left, got killed, retired. And this guy's been louder than any of them. All right, so I would normally pull a quote from this, but it's too large and insane to pull any one quote from. Seriously, how often does that happen that I can't sum something up quickly for you guys? The short of it is Jones has ties to the Bronfmans, all right? And the Saudi billionaire Adan Khashoggi, who is actually a Mossad agent himself, posing as a Muslim, an Arabist. And they've spent years building up this Mossad-backed and operated network from companies in America, essentially acting as conspiracy gatekeepers. Woo! Just when you think you've reached the bottom of the rabbit hole, the Twitter link eventually leads to this article. So you got this Twitter. This is called Panic. Warren calls for the 25th Amendment invoked against Trump. So Senator Elizabeth Warren on Thursday said she believes it's time for White House officials to invoke the 25th Amendment and begin the process of removing President Trump from office. The comments come one day after a blistering op-ed published in the New York Times by an anonymous senior administration official that blasted Trump as immoral and anti-democratic and said staffers must constantly rebut the president's misguided impulses and worst inclinations. If senior administration officials think the president of the United States is not able to do his job, then they should invoke the 25th Amendment, Warren told CNN. The Constitution provides for a procedure whenever the vice president and senior officials think the president can't do his job. It does not provide that senior officials go around the president, take documents off his desk, write anonymous op-eds. Every one of these officials have sworn to uphold the Constitution of the United States. It's time for them to do their job, she added. Yeah, sitting bull crap, that plan is really going to work. In case it's not obvious, I'm not too worried about any of his succeeding, to be honest. It's just heavy flock as we continue to approach our target, the last desperate attempt to stop the inevitable and maybe foment some rage into the streets. It won't work. I count 11 spaces, so Anon, it just flat out wrong there. There's a misconception going around that Q said there were 12 spaces. He did not, and there are not. There are only 11. That discounts a lot of theories about that kill box, meaning things like Jerome Corsi, InfoWars, and Warner Media, among other things. Frankly, I have no idea what belongs there, but I think it's clear it's 11 spaces, so none of those fit. And we are talking about all this stuff up here that people were 12 spaces. Spaces. There are only 11. But it's a weird tryst how this whole story Corsi pulled out. Earlier this week, Corsi's lawyer told us he was trying to set up a separate sit-down with Mueller's office, which he could make a grand jury appearance unnecessary. Also, guess where Q probably pulled that picture and summary from. Second time it's happened now, if you're paying close attention. Surprised they let them in with the Q gear? There are reports of people being made to change shirts and such at these rallies. It's not hard to fabricate screenshots and text like Microchip did. It's why he requested direct access to his server, which is what Posebek would have done. Heck, what any journalist should have done as part of their due diligence, and which is why he denied it. All right, this is a heck of a long article. All right, considering that he's working at least tangentially with the likes of Mossad, it is reason I put a timer on my request. Show me immediately, or else you have had time to fabricate more things. Perhaps even modifying databases on Discord's own servers, assuming he had access to the appropriate level of hacking tools and skills. So Microchip, QAnon, less than 48 hours until I pull your card. You better hurry. This is day number 2 of you failing big time setting up Strawman. Sad to see you directly deflect so poorly. Looks like we've caught you stumbling. Next few days are going to rock your world. Hold on tight, sweetheart. Amazingly, he didn't call Q a cupcake. At least he's trying, I suppose. You know, in his own special way. If you missed the very public beatdown I gave Microchip, the one that crippled his ego so much that he's been tagging me in, really just downright plebeian post for the past few days. Here's a quick rundown of the current situation. So there's a bunch of stuff here. DeFango starts pushing propaganda to capitalize on the views from drama. Seriously though, I've rarely seen someone so incredibly salty and butthurt. He's still nursing his wounds. What? 3 whole days later? You should see the sheer amount of posts he's frantically tagged me in. It's like every hour, ding, another notification. He's obsessed with me now or something. And he's not fooling the boards either, because again, it's just me. It's not just me that's smarter than him. The truth is he's only very low end of the average intelligence. And the vast majority of Anons are way smarter than he is and are able to see right through his charade, which is why all his claims were met with universal shrug on the boards and then passed on by. I mean, most Anons wouldn't even know what he was doing right now. But for me, publicly, he's correcting him so hard. That's crazy. In other words, he's been completely irrelevant without me. And deep down, he knows this. Honestly, at some point, I'd challenge the guy to a charity boxing match or something just to help him get his aggression out against me out. But it's just frowned upon by good society to beat up the mentally handicapped, even if it's for sport. Besides, I don't know if he could get someone to change his diaper afterwards anyway. But at least we know he couldn't possibly suffer any brain damage. Well, any more brain damage anyway. All right, so you just took a minute there to jab at this guy. We got tons of posts brought back up. And here's the links. Nunez, Carter Page, Pfizer redacted to hide part Steele dossier played. So they're trying to hide the part that the Steele played. So let's get the D-Class going already on this. Knock on POTUS' door and tell him Neon says to go. It's go time. Surely I have kind of authority influence to him by now, right? Kecked him. All right, at least one Anon on the board thinks Rosenstein is the leaker, the evidence being that he actually wrote an op-ed for the Times, which was published on the 27th of August. I have a slightly different take on this, but I'll save that for a later moment. I'm hoping Q saying this because Trump has already made the final declassification decision. Goodbye, Mr. Rosenstein. I'm still not completely sold on Rod Rosenstein being a black hat. And before I hear the bunch of cries of outrage, all right? The Componius cries of outrage. Let me explain this. Him being a black hat means the only way he's leaving, as if Trump fires him, because he certainly isn't recusing himself in that scenario. And that's a PR disaster, public relations. It makes Trump look biased, so I'm thinking the only way to really get rid of Rosenstein is to have him do it so voluntarily, which means he's a white hat. There's also the niggling problem of Jeff Sessions. You know him. You love him. The Keebler elf of doom and destruction. Yes, it was Sessions who recommended Rosenstein to Trump. Was this a gigantic oversight by Sessions? Whoops. Mr. President, sorry I didn't recognize the traitor in our midst. We're supposed to believe that Sessions would recommend someone who was working full-time for the cabal and that Trump and the entire military intelligence apparatus wouldn't know this beforehand? Sessions has gone so far as to say he'll leave his position if Rosenstein is fired, even if he was acting. I don't think he can really back out of a statement like that. Comey's firing did provide cover to appointment of Mueller. But that's the only problem if you think the witch hunt is against Trump, which, if you'll remember, Q got very mad when it leaked that Mueller wasn't investigating Trump. Next, Q reminds us of the sleeper cells tweet by Comey. I'm just going to enlarge this one in this drop so it's easier to read. All right, so that's the one where it's like, provide cover, these people stood tall. We own you, We all know that. James Comey tweeted and Q broke it down to what it really means and what he's talking, how he's secretly talking. The JC tweet about the standing tall over the last 8 months, activate sleeper cells. I think he was saying in 8 months to activate. That would be September. Do you believe in coincidences? So the question is now, who is the sleeper cell? Logical thinking, month of September, public learned, grand jury, impaneled. Coincidence? They know who the sleeper cell was the whole time. Note Podesta's tweet. Real witch hunt begins. The sleeper cells have awoken. Trump and aides shaken by resistance. Op-ed. Fun fact, the leaker goes by the name Lodestar. I've heard reports that Podesta autocorrects to Lodestar on iPhones. But beyond that, consider for a moment that Rod Rosenstein is our sleeper cell, and that the author of the Lodestar op-ed in the New York Times. The Times is taking a rare step of publishing an anonymous op-ed essay. We have done so at the request of the author, a senior official in the Trump administration, whose identity is known to us and who is known to us and whose job would be jeopardized by its disclosure. but reconcile this with everything we reviewed above. That the NSA and Signals Intelligence already knew who this sleeper was the whole time and have planned around it. Sessions recommended Rod Rosenstein, and Rod Rosenstein's vote confirmation count was overwhelming. Why? Because the Dems thought they were installing a sleeper. So what if POTUS knew all of this and had Rod Rosenstein purposely act out his role in order to drive the left and Dems even further into frothing lunacy, screeching about the 25th Amendment right before midterms? If Rod Rosenstein agreed to already stepping down, why not have him play Pied Piper before volunteering walk the plank, and have all the Dems follow him into the sea in the process? See, the author of this article is not anonymous to Q and POTUS. They know exactly who it is, and POTUS is playing up the gutless angel angle perfectly. Think like how he fights with Sessions on Twitter. It's that all over again. This is a perfect acting. He's not afraid at all. He's kicking fake news in the keister at the same time and taking names here. Do you think he's lying when he says the NYT and CNN will be out of business? No, I think he's actually telling us something here. 14 days, and that was with a Clinton-appointed judge, if I recall correctly. 14 days for Papadopoulos lying. Let them all dig their own graves, use their own words against them. All right, last little spot here, and I will repeat with my assertion, no matter how unpopular, that I still think both Mueller and Rod Rosenstein are clean, relatively speaking, in acting their parts in the plan. It's the only scenario I can see where POTUS gets to wash his hands of the whole thing and look truly objective. Remember the way Sheila Jackson started shrieking when they fed her the line about Trump firing Rod Rosenstein through Trump's second iPhone? POTUS and Q team are perpetually keeping their enemies off balance. And when you understand that, the whole thing becomes truly hilarious. All right? I want to see the declassification land next week. Let's do this. All right. So again, that all makes sense, folks. I know there's a little long. We're at the 40-minute mark. But that makes sense. Rod Rosenstein, Mueller, all playing the role. All have decided to flip, power removed, play a role. Still have to look bad, all right? Trump, these people are doing all these evil things, and at the end of it, he wants them to show everybody that they're doing evil. They were able to sit here and do it one way. And he's like, no, I'm not going to be the one to bear all this bad news and take all the brunt for us. We'll have you do it yourself. You'll show people. People will be convinced then, because it ain't going to be the other person telling you after somebody's already put to death, put in jail. They were bad, and I'll show you some paperwork here. And people are like, I don't want to see your paperwork, buddy. So now if you have these people explain that to your followers, wow. Crazy. All right, this gets back into the movie 2018 MAGA movie that we're all witnessing right now, happening, unfold, play out, live time. We went over some articles earlier on that we found, didn't know them to be true. The more and more you see it, it looks like this is exactly what's happening. We know there's a plan. I just didn't know how well involved it was. And there are some bad actors, of course. Then the disinformation is necessary. You got to keep everyone else off balance. All right, I'm Mike. This is a Patriot Hour. God bless, Godspeed to each and every one of you worldwide. We'll be back here throughout the day with some more videos. I got to do some maintenance on some things and get a new battery on this one. But we'll be back before you know it. All right, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe, like, share, comment. For all of you, comment. Take a look in the comments. Take a look in the description box for the N.Revolt article. And we'll be back here real soon with more updates. Have a great morning into your afternoon, and we'll see you back here real soon.